Hello, my tech friends. My name is Heather Lupton. I'm an elementary technology integration coach for Warren County Public Schools and also a member of Unison EDU. Today, I'll be hosting you through the training ABCs and 123's of Google Classroom. During this training, we will review the basic steps for beginning your adventure. I will share images and videos from a teacher view and as a student. This learning management system is user-friendly for teachers and students with Google Suite for Education and a great way to transition your classroom to blended learning. Hope this information assists you with beginning your Google Classroom adventure.
Create your class, you will click on the plus sign and you will click on create class. You would do join class if you were going in as a student, but since you are the teacher and you are creating it, you're going to click on create class. Here, the only thing that is required is the class name. You may also add a section, subject, or room if you prefer to. So the only thing that's required, like I said, is the name. So let's create a new Google Classroom. Once you have the name in, then you may click on create. And you can see now that it has automatically taken me to my class. Now we're going to focus on our settings inside of our classroom. Up here at the top, you can see that this is a hyperlink that'll get me to all of my classrooms or this selected one that I'm in. Over here, you are going to see your tabs that we will be reviewing shortly. These tabs are your stream, classwork, people, and grades. Over to the right, you are going to see that you have a gear, and that is going to be your settings. You also have access to your apps, and you can see that you're in your Google account. If for some reason I want to get back to the home screen of where classroom.google.com is, I can click on these three lines, three pancakes there, or three hot dogs, whichever you prefer, and click on classes, and it will bring me back to my main screen that I was in. Over here on my left, I'm going to click back on the Google Classroom that I want to be in so that I can see it. Over here, you will see the class code. The class code is a way for your students to enter in your classroom where you can just share the code and the students can actually enroll in the class. You have the ability to do this by clicking on the display and it will make it larger. So if you're projecting it in the classroom, or you can even make it full screen. You have the option of going to exit out of here or click on the top to get out of it. And that will take it away. That code will be designated for this classroom. So if later on you have a new student come in, you want them to be enrolled in this classroom, you can also give them this code. The next thing is that you have a theme behind it. I encourage you to update your theme based on your class so that your students can help to figure out which class they're looking at. So you have the ability to select your theme by clicking select theme. And then here at the top, you will see some options for different types of backgrounds that you can use for your classroom. Like I said, I encourage you to use ones that go along with what you are working on. All you'd have to do is click on the picture and then hit select class theme so that it will upload into the back. You can also upload your own photo in the background if you prefer for your kids for easy access. So maybe if there's a class picture theme that you have behind it that you use all the time, that might be a great background for the students to know which class they are going into. Up here on the right, you will see the gear shift. The gear shift is where your settings are. So you click on the gear shift and this will take you to your class settings. At the top, you can see your class details and that's where your name of your class is. This also gives you ability to add any information that you forgot the first time if you want to now that you've done it. You can see here again, you can see the class code. And if I click down here, I have the ability to display it so that the students can see it. I have the ability to copy it if I need to share it. So inside of somewhere else, maybe inside of a class dojo post, maybe somewhere else that I want my parents to join this class or students to join. I can reset it if I want to use it for something else or maybe make a new class so that the same students aren't in it, or I can disable it so no one can access it to actually enter into the class. My stream is where one of my tabs where all of my information will be. This is a great learning tool for many of our students, especially with virtual learning, since the students can post and can comment on here. You do have the ability as a teacher to change this, where students can only comment or only teachers can post or comment. You may choose. This is a great digital citizenship lesson for students. If you allow them to post and comment, is that everyone in the class can see it and that it is there and cannot be removed for them, but as a teacher, you can remove it. But this is a great digital citizenship lesson to help them figure out about posting and commenting. Next, you will have classwork on the stream. So it's designated to have show condensed notifications. This is smaller for the students and only has the titles in. I encourage you to change this to show attachments and details so that they have all the information there. You also have the ability to hide notifications. Maybe if you don't like to use the stream, you can actually turn them off. But I encourage you, if you're going to allow the stream on there, is to show attachments and details, which will give all the students everything they need in one spot. Next, you have show deleted items. Only teachers can view deleted items. You have the ability to turn this on or off. Next, we have guardian summaries. This is a great place for parents to be involved with the classrooms. So you have the ability to invite your parents into your classroom. So by using this, you can turn it on and it will allow them to access the classes you teach, and they'll give them a summary for the parents. And here I'm going to click on see example, and this will actually show you what a guardian summary will look like. Parents can choose whether they have it weekly or daily, depending on their student, but it just helps the parents monitor the student instead of having to log into their account. It will automatically send them an email to let them know what they're missing, what they need to work on, what's due ahead of time, just to keep parents in the loop. So it's a great tool for using, and Google has recently just added that. So you have the ability to turn that on and off. A brand new feature that we have is Google Meet has now been placed into Google Classroom, which allows many of our students to join us in the classroom, where I can just designate a Meet that'll be visible to my students. All I have to do is click over here and generate the link Meet, and you can see once I've done that, it's automatically visible to the students. This link, I can copy it and send it out or reset it if I need to. If students continue to get in, I can change this so that it's not visible to the students or change that back. I want to show you where that's located inside of your Google Classroom so that you can see it. So I'm going to click out of this so that you can see where the link Meet will be. Right now, you can see that I did not save my information, so I want to make sure that I save before I go. And now up at the top, you will see Meet link, and it has the link for the students to join into a Google Meet right here inside of my Google Classroom. This is a great new tool that has just been implemented to help teachers and students, especially with our virtual and distance learning currently. I'm going to click back on my gear shift and get back into my settings. And I'm going to continue to scroll down so that we can start talking about grading. Inside of Google Classroom, you also have the ability to grade your students. So you can choose whether you want to use this. Many teachers use their normal grade book on top of it, so they don't like to do this. But some teachers like for students to get a check or a grade so that they know what the student completed and what the student got. So this is a quick and easy way for them to access it. You can see that you can have overall grade calculations. So you choose the grading system, and it has more in detail. So currently the default is no overall grade. You can do total points, or you can do weighted by category. If you choose weighted by category, then you can actually create your own categories. So if I want to create a testing category, it can be there for my students. This is completely up to you and your preference. If you prefer to have that, that is completely great. Many of our teachers use this system more as a way of monitoring what the students have done. So since our grade book currently does that, they don't usually go to the weight by graded, but they give no overall grades and show their points to their students. Completely up to you and how you want to set it up. After you have finished this whole list, please make sure to hit save again, and then those save settings will be applied into your Google Classroom. Next, we are going to look at email notifications. Depending on the number of classes you teach and students you have, you will soon learn the default email notifications can be overwhelming. To help reduce the stress of the notifications, I will show you how to select which notifications you want. To do this, you will visit the upper left-hand corner. You will need to scroll down to the bottom till you get to the word settings. Click on this link. Go to the notifications section. The first option here will be email notifications. The default setting is to receive email notifications for all items below. If you toggle to the left, you can turn this off, this feature, and you will not receive email notifications for any Google Classroom. If you leave the toggle to the right, it will be blue if turned on. Then you will have more options for selecting which notifications appear as emails. You can see there are options from comments. If you do not want any of the notifications, then move your toggle to the left until it is gray. Next, there are notifications from classes that you're enrolled in. That will help you when you're a student and you will need to join a class and turn in items. The third section focuses on the classes you teach. If you are consistent at looking at the information directly in Google Classroom, then you may want to turn these notifications off to help keep clutter from your email. In this section, I have class notification emails. Here, I can just select which classes I want to select to receive or not receive notifications from. As you can see on my list, I have many classes that I am a co-teacher, but I do not wish to receive the emails from. These classes are gray to avoid receiving emails notifications. The classes that I am an instructor, I leave on to help with keeping track of items since I do not log into Google Classroom daily. Another great tip when you are on your home page, there's a picture of the house next to it, or also known as your Google Classes or your classes page, is you are able to organize your class cards by dragging them around in the order of your preference. So as you can see, I've moved mine around because the classes that I teach are now at the top and the other ones are down at the bottom. So it's just more organized, but you can click and drag. Another excellent organization tip is on the classroom cards. You will see an icon of a folder. This folder will direct you straight to the Google Drive folder that will host all the students' work from this class. As your students turn in work, it will automatically be loaded to this folder inside. Next to the folder, you will see this wiggly arrow. This wiggly arrow will open up the grade book for that class so that you can see what assignments and material are there. So if you click it, it'll take you straight to the grade book where information will be placed and where you can add grades in at one time. Next, we will talk about the Google Calendar. Up at the top where your three lines are, if you click, you'll see where Calendar is. Calendar here will have all of your events that are happening inside of Google Classroom. If you click on Calendar, you will see all of the events that are taking place and for all the classes that you have up at the top. You can select in between them or you can see them listed out. Depending on the amount of classes you might have to scroll up and down to see the activities for that day.
You can click back and forth to go by weeks so that you can see what is assigned for before or after to go back. To click into the assignment, you can actually click straight in and then view the assignment. Here you can see in a teacher view, I can see all the students that are in it and what they have assigned to them. Now we will be focusing on the ABCs of Google Classroom. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to go over 26 letters of the alphabet, so we're going to focus on our Google Classroom tab letters. And that would be C for classwork, G for grades, P for people, and S for stream. First, we will start with the letter S, and we will talk about the stream. Up at the top, you can see that the stream is the first tab on the top. Your stream is important because it helps you communicate with your class. You can create and schedule announcements and respond to students' posts. Remember, in the settings, you need to make sure that you've turned your settings on for your students to communicate inside of here in your stream. All activities will also be inside of it. As you can remember, we also talked about the details that you will see in our settings portion about what the students will see inside of the stream. Now we're going to talk about how to place an announcement. As you can see right here at the top, I have this bar. When I click here on the bar, it will let me proceed to make an announcement. You can see right here, the first one is the class that I'm choosing. You can also see that I can choose multiple classes at a time. Maybe there's certain classes that all need this announcement. I can check those boxes that go along with it. If I only want it for this class, then I can leave it there. Next, I can choose if I want this to go to all of the students that are enrolled in the class or only some of them. If you are planning on reusing this post in other classes, you'll need to make sure that the announcement is for all of your students. Here is where you're going to type your message. So please check out the Google Slides You can see here I've put a link, but also I have the option to add onto my post. Maybe there's some activity that I want them to go to, or I want to direct them straight to the link. When I click add, I have options. I can click and add a file from my Google Drive. I can add a link to a hyperlink to something on the web. I can also add a file if it's on my computer, or I can also insert a YouTube video for the students to watch. Since this is a link that is a hyperlink that'll take you to actually the presentation that goes along with this training, I will click link, and then I will add the link here directly in here, and it'll attach it to my announcement for the students. I click it there, and you can see that the direct link is adding it straight here so that the student can see both of them. Next, I have the option. I can cancel it if I've messed something up or I decided that I didn't want to do it. Over to the right, I have post. You have 3 options inside of post. I can post it right now, which will add it immediately to all of their screens. I do have the ability to go back and edit, but not to the students, in that I would have to just edit the wording in there. Next, I can schedule it for a certain time to show up. So this is an announcement about something that's going to happen at the day. Maybe I want this to be scheduled to show first thing up in the morning for them. Or I want a reminder that evening. I can schedule it here so that it'll show up. Next, I can just save this. Oh, this is something that I wanted them to know. I can save it and actually post it later. So you have those 3 options. Once you hit it, it'll be there for your students and it'll show up in your stream.
Now we will continue to look at the stream, but as you can see, we've added some announcements to it. Here you can see the first one I did was a link. The next one I added a YouTube video. And then the last I added actually a file from my Google Drive for the students to see. You can see down here that the students have the ability to comment, or I can comment back on them so that everybody in the class has the option to see it. To send it, all I had to do is click on this arrow and it will go through and post. And also post with my name and time, where it also posts if a student responds here. If you prefer not for your students to respond and chat in between there, remember you have that ability inside of the settings. Also, you have the ability to condense the view. This is an expanded view for the student, but to condense the view, remember to go to your settings, scroll down to general, where it says stream. Remember, if you don't want your students to post, this is where you can put it in. And then a classwork on the stream, show attached details. If you change that to show condensed notifications, it will change how the students see it. So that they will see a smaller view of all the activities that are on it. Also, too, the teacher has the ability to move items onto the top. So let's say that you've added these 3 items, and then I want this one to go back on the top so that everyone can see it. All I have to do is click the 3 arrows and click move to the top. And then this post will now be located on the top of these other 2. These go in sequential order, so that is the only way to get it back onto the top. Remember, you have the ability to schedule those items if you choose. Here you can see on the student view that the student has received all of the announcements on their stream. And you can see that I have opened it up so that the students can comment on all of the posts. They do that, and then they click the arrow, and it will show up. It also shows up with their name and the time that they have done it. They can click on the link to access the information. They are staying inside of their Google Classroom. They can go back to where they were. Also, they have the options of copying the link if they need to put it somewhere else. This also gives the ability of the students to chat amongst themselves inside of these posts if you have it set up, and ask questions about the announcements or activities. This is what the student view of the stream will look like. Now we're going to work on C. C is for classwork. This is by far the most important tab for the students and organization for the teacher to know where all the activities are. Under the classwork, you can see that you have a create button. You also have your Meet link, a Google Calendar, and a class drive that are all links that will be helpful to you. In this section of Google Classroom, you can see that it's to assign work to your class. You can create assignments and questions, use topics to organize classwork into modules or units, which is very important for organization and so that the students can find what they need. And also in this one, you have the option to order it, so you can actually drag items up and down the way that you would want to add them. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on Create. Here you can see we have options, trying to figure out what is the best option for us. The first one is an assignment, which means the student will have to complete it and turn it in. Next, you have a quiz assignment, which will focus on a Google Forms. Also, if you're using a Chromebook, it'll lock it down for the students so that they can't go outside to get answers. Next, you have a question that you just post inside a Google Classroom that'll show up for the students and they can answer it, interactive question. Next is just materials. Maybe there's a certain resource that you want the students to read or a lesson page that you want them to have. You can just give them materials that go along with yours. Next, you have reuse post. If you use your class or your co-teachers, which we'll talk about in people, in different spots, you can reuse a post. Last but not least, you have topic. Topic is the way that you are going to sort your activities, especially now with distance learning. It might be good to use your topics by date so that the students know what activities and assignments are due on certain dates. So we're going to go to create an assignment. As you can see, I have to title my assignment. Now you can see that they've added a rubric piece into the grading option so that you can also add that to your activity. Here I'm going to title it. I'm going to give instructions for the student. I can add a link here from my Google Drive, hyperlink, a file, or a YouTube video, just like you could on your announcements. Or I can actually create something that I want them to use inside of this activity. And you can see that you have all of your Google Forms, drawing sheets, slides, and docs that you can actually create that go inside of it. Here you have a link. If I was going to give the students a link and I wanted something from my drive and I wanted them to have their own copy, there are 3 options for this. When I do this, I can hit add. And here you can see when I add it, it says students can view this file. That just means that all the students have access to this file and can see what's on it, but cannot write on it. If I want the students to collaborate and write on it, I can give students the option to edit, but that'll give every student in the class the option to edit this file. Last but not least, I can make a copy for each student. Just like you would a worksheet, this would actually give them their own sheet where the students can interact and complete activities inside of it. Over to the right, you'll see again the 4 where you can pick your classes. You can assign to multiple classes at a time. To the right, you can make it for students. So maybe there's only certain students that you want this activity to go for. You could choose it. You can see that the point value is there, or I have the ability to check ungraded, where it will just give me a check mark if they have completed the activity. Down here, I have a due date. I can pick any date on the calendar so that it'll go through. I even have the ability to pick the time that I want it to go through. Next, I have topic. This will become one of the most important things that you add. I suggest that you go to create topic and you give it a date for the topic, or maybe an SOL that you want to use, or any way that the students will know exactly what they're supposed to go to. Once again, you have the ability to add a rubric. If you choose one, you can create one, reuse one, or import if you have them from Sheets. That is a new option here inside of Google Classroom. Now that you have all of this information in, up at the top, you have the ability to assign. If I click this, it'll immediately assign it to my students. If I click to the right, I can assign it, I can schedule it, and I can save draft, just like our options before. The last one you'll see is discard draft. So if you get one in there and you decided that you didn't want to do that activity, you can always go back and do it. So I am going to schedule this so that it'll go through. I pick the date and the time for it to actually show up. Great for quizzes and assignments that you want to make sure that the students are doing inside of school. If I save the draft, I can find it in my list. You guys can see that it is here, but it is gray. If it is gray, then it hasn't been assigned to the students yet. So you know that it is a draft. It says it over to the right. And then if you click the 3 dots, you have options. I can edit it or I can delete it. Since I haven't given this one and I want it to be available to the students, I hit edit. And now I want to assign it to the students right now. So I'm going to click assign, and then it will be available for our students. In the student view, it will show under their classwork, and it will also show in the stream that I have posted an assignment. Now that you see that I have an assignment, this is a condensed version of it, but if I were to click back up and go into my settings, I can click on Show Attachments and Details. And here's what the students will see, which is great for me because I can also see who has turned it in and who hasn't and who it's assigned to. If I go back to my classwork tab, I also have the ability to do a question. This is a quick and easy way to get an answer. I type my question in here. I can give directions if I need to, but you can see that this is an optional piece. Maybe there's an activity or a picture that I want them to use inside of this. I can add that right here, or I can create something that goes along with it, maybe a picture activity to it. Over to the right, you see my classes. Next to it, the students. If I'm going to grade it, I'm not going to grade this, so I'm just going to check ungrade it. Due date, I want it by tomorrow. And then also, I'm not worried about time because that isn't optional, but I want to make sure that I have my date. Right here, I have the option that students can reply to each other or students can edit answer. So if I want them to go back and be able to edit their answer, maybe after they've watched a video, I can click it here. But if I want them to talk to each other and respond to each other, I would make sure this is checked. Here again, you have your options to ask right now, schedule it or save draft, or discard it. So I want to make sure that it's in my post, so I'm going to click ask now. Materials and other items are also in there. If you wanted to reuse a post from another class, I can click reuse post. I pick the class that I want to reuse the post from. I click on the link. And down here, I can also, it says create new copies of all attachments. If I have any attachments to it, I can create new copies of it, or I can assign exactly what it was, and I hit reuse post. And now you can see that it's in here. One thing that it doesn't do is add a topic because my topics might not be the same. So I need to make sure that I create a topic that goes along with what we are working on. And then I want to assign it to my students. Here you can see that in the blue are the topics, and below them are the assignments and activities that go along with it. If I change my mind and I want to make sure that's done on that activity, you can see that I can interact and change these back and forth so that they are adjusted. If I decide that I wanted to go back up, I go here. Anytime you want to edit, make sure that you click to the right. Here is the student view of the classwork tab. As you can see already in the classroom card, there are items and activities that are due there. If they click into the classroom, click on classwork, you can see their topics are up at the top with all of their activities that go along with it. And all they had to do is click in. Up at the top, they also have a button that says view your work, so they can see it in one area. Plus, it'll also tell them what their grades and activities are over on the left-hand side. To go back, they just click on the title and then go back to the classwork tab. Move to P is for people. Under this People tab, we can add teachers and students. There are multiple ways to do this, so let me show you how it can be done. Once again, teachers are the most important. Having a collaborative teacher that you work with also have access to your classroom is a great resource. That brings me to my scavenger hunt word. My scavenger hunt word is teamwork. When you have teamwork, you can do anything. So invite other teachers to participate with you in your Google Classroom. So if you click the little person, you enter in the email address that you want to be attached, and then you click down here where it says invite. Remember that these teachers can do everything in the classroom. You can see it's grayed out right here, but you can see that they are invited. If I change my mind, I can always click on the 3 dots, and then I can email them to say, hey, I've invited you to my class, or I can remove them fully from the class. Next, I have students. Remember, you can also add kids by giving them your class code, or you can click on the plus sign and find their emails or type in their emails as well. And you can see there, I found his email and I can invite him to the class. Once again, I couldn't invite the student because he's already in my class. But if I pick another student, and click on it, and then I can invite them. You will see that when you invite them, they will be grayed out just like that. And then once they have accepted, then they will be over here. If you give the students the class code, they will automatically be accepted into the class. Once a student is fully enrolled in the class, then you can invite the guardian of the student for the guardian summaries that we have gone over earlier. And you can see that the email hasn't been invited and it's still in acceptance mode from the parent, but the parent will have access to his information within the Google Classroom. And that is our People tab. Here you can see the People tab in the student view. When the student clicks on People, it will have a list of the teachers, and then if there are other students in the class, it'll have a student tab here that'll have all of the students listed in the class for them. The last tab that we have is G is for grades. As the teacher view, you have a gradebook page. This will list all of your students out here and will list the assignments and their dates that they are due, plus allow you to enter in material. So I can see that I can enter in a grade for him here, and it will calculate the grade within it. Remember, these grades are set up by how you set up the settings at the beginning that we talked about on what will work for you. You also have the ability to grade inside of the activities. Once you click in, you can also grade the student here where their activity is as well. Plus see any comments or notes that they had. Also, if the student has turned something in by accident, they no longer have access to it, so you will need to return it to the student so that they can redo the activity. You can send them a private comment like, please look over the item, and return it back to them. Now they have editing rights to that activity. Thank you so much for attending the ABCs and 123's of Google Classroom training. I hope this training was helpful for you and that you continue to take your adventure with Google Classroom to the next level. Thanks again.